it with music, beautiful music.
Hello, I'm Fred Miller, and this is yet another one of my lectures in song. And before we go into Cantare, the Italian presence in American popular song, a little bit about me and my origins. They are not Italian. They are New Mexican, actually. I grew up in Albuquerque, had a wonderful classical piano teacher, loved classical music of all kinds, opera and all, and had a wonderful teacher. And then, right on my 13th birthday, the Beatles arrived, and my musical taste expanded to include all the great rock songs of the 60s as well. And that went on through high school until the summer after I graduated. A friend of mine, whose parents were Ivy Leaguers and had took the New York Times, showed me this advertisement for this big rock festival taking place in upstate New York. We were up for an adventure. It was the summer after high school. We decided to go, and we hitchhiked most of the way from New Mexico to the Woodstock Festival. I even managed to show up very prominently in the poster there. I wanted to be a musician. Somehow or the other, I knew that was somehow in the cards, but I wasn't going to be a rock musician, and I knew somehow I wasn't cut out to be a classical musician. I went to college very briefly, left, and then went around the country a bit. Finally settled in Greenwich Village, and at some point somebody gave me an album of Ella Fitzgerald singing Cole Porter. That was it, and that is it. The world of Gershwin, Porter, Kern, Rogers, Berlin, Fred Astaire, Judy Garland, Ethel Merman, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby. American popular song in its glory. I came up with the idea of a lecture in song, each one being a profile of a great personality or some aspect of American popular song. I started initially with 6 programs, and now to date I have 75 different lectures in song, each one described in detail at fredmillermusic.com. The program at hand falls not a songwriter specifically or a performer. It is the holiday, Columbus Day. It is a celebration of the Italians in America, and musically speaking. We're talking cantare, we call it, to sing. What better title could you have? I grew up with lots of Italians. You know, New Mexico, where a lot of pioneers were out there. You know, the Jews settled it early. Lots of Hispanics already there, and loads of Italians. I remember going with my good friend Eddie into his Aunt Lena and Uncle Mario's house, and you know, Aunt Lena would have the big pot of, you know, red thick gravy, you know, sort of simmering on the stove, and we'd be sent down to the cellar to break up the cheese, you know, the hard Parmesan in this old world grinder. That was Eddie's family was. I mean, I think they had. God, he had something like, I must have had 100 cousins or something, and they mostly were in the liquor business. I think they had the whole thing sewed up in New Mexico. The shoe store where my mother would buy me my Buster Browns, run by the Matucci's. There was another classmate with a vowel at the end of his name, and his father was a very high-powered lawyer, criminal lawyer. He handled every criminal case, every killer, every really major crime in the state, you know. There was a friendly, gray-haired, chunky guy named Italo who had this great liquor store, and he also kept my parents well supplied in not just wonderful liquor and everything, but then wines, fine wines, but cheeses and meats and everything for their parties and what have you. And from the time I was a little kid, you know, my mother would take me to Russell's Bakery and buy me a glazed donut just to warm me up, to take me next door to the barber shop where this tall guy with very dark hair and eventually a big black mustache cut my hair. He had the unlikely name of Tony. There are many, many others. You know, one of the things I've really discovered and I've taken away from knowing so many Italians is that, unlike most of us who come from, you know, different parts of the world, whatever. My grandparents, both sides, came from the Ukraine. Most of us are assimilated. We become Americans, you know, which is certainly, and in a way we lose the characteristics of our native land or our grandparents' native lands. Not so the Italians. There's an essential Italianness or something that is retained somehow or the other. It's just always there. So anyway, what this program is just spread out that red and white checkered tablecloth and put get all the unmatched tumblers there and bottles of red wine covered in straw. You got the picture. And that is the feast of Italy in America. Today on the menu, music, and of course the seasoning, the flavoring is strictly Italian. what they've brought with them. This is the thing. Italy is, it was the artwork of Florence. It's the beautiful vineyards of Tuscany, the majesty and power that was Rome, the languid, haunting kind of strange decadence of Venice, the sun, the sea, the soil, the sky, all of that, the Amalfi Coast. Something magical, certainly, and that all comes through in the music. We're going to start with Italy itself, the Neapolitan songs, those songs that capture Italy. You don't even have to really understand Italian to get a feeling of what they are saying. What a beautiful thing is a sunny day, and like the sun, how beautiful is your face before me. Che bella cosa, una giornata e sole, un'aria serena dopo una tempesta, per aria fresca parigina festa. Che bella cosa, una giornata e sole, manna tu sole, tu bello è, no sole mio, confronti a te, oh sole mio, confronti a te, confronti a te.